Hello there again. Welcome back to AGRC 210. This is Unit 2, and we're going to talk in this section about building relationships in ag sales and leadership. And as you probably know, maybe not necessarily always realize, but as you know, relationships are so critical whenever we talk about sales and leadership. And we're going to hit on some of those key things in this unit. So let's get to our content. So the first things first, whenever you're getting into sales and leadership, is you need to develop a little bit of a philosophy about it. There's a definition here on the left side of the screen. I'm not going to read it to you. This is a textbook definition of personal selling. Again, kind of that interaction between sales agent and consumer, blah, blah, blah. You can read through that section. You're welcome to pause the video and kind of read it and reflect on it. I would encourage you to do that because I'm going to have you develop a little bit of your own personal selling philosophy, as it says here on the right. You have to understand what your approach to a lot of these different topics, a lot of these different challenges in sales and leadership are going to be. The same philosophy doesn't fit for everyone. So I want you to really think about how you would approach these types of things, and it needs to be very personal. So it's genuine and clear to a customer and doesn't look contrived, slick, or mechanical in any way. So think about how you would define personal selling, how you're going to approach these kind of things. So as you then develop that personal selling philosophy, you've got to adopt a few things. You've got to put a few things in play. You need a little bit of a marketing concept. And when I say marketing, I'm not necessarily just talking about advertising or things of that nature. How are you going to approach your sales market? What type of things are going to be important to you as a salesperson and to your customers as, whether they're current customers or prospects? What's going to be important? How does it fit with your company? Not every company approaches sales exactly the same. There are oftentimes company philosophies about sales, and how does that mesh with you, and how would you apply it? Next is, how do you value personal selling? There's kind of two different approaches here as we get to the last concept on the slide. Is you can have a little bit of this problem solver approach, or you can have the personal selling approach. The problem solver approach is, a salesperson or a leader kind of seizes that opportunity that a problem presents. Let's give you an example to make it a little bit more real. Let's assume that you have a prospect that you've been calling on their tractor. The engine blows out on their tractor. Obviously a problem. You can seize that as an opportunity to sell them a new tractor. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. It doesn't really matter necessarily for this discussion. But that's a problem. Now you have the opportunity as a salesperson. Maybe you need to help that customer solve that problem by selling them a new tractor instead of maybe repairing an old one. That's a problem solver approach. The personal selling approach is working with a customer on an ongoing basis. Let's say that we apply that same scenario here. Is you've had the conversation with them on a number of different occasions about that tractor that is maybe high hours and high risk for a catastrophic failure, and maybe you both work to the conclusion that it might be a great idea to trade that tractor before that big problem develops. So that's the personal selling approach to that, is that you're kind of developing that relationship so that they share that information with you, that they've got a piece of equipment on the farm that is reaching the end of its useful lifespan and at risk for a catastrophic failure, and that that. You've helped them identify potential solutions to that problem before it presents itself. You've guided them to selecting the proper piece of equipment, proper machine for their operation, and lead them and guide them and walk through them with the selling process until they say yes to that sale, and you get to deliver that new tractor before a catastrophic problem presents itself. That's the approach that I prefer to use whenever I'm in sales and leadership situations. That's my approach. I know several people who really prefer the problem solver approach. They would rather be that type of person than develop the relationship, or they value that more. They see that as a better opportunity. I don't particularly think one of those is right or wrong. I think it's a personal decision that you have to make on what's your personal selling approach and philosophy. How are you going to go about helping a customer? So again, the things that I want you to reflect upon and think about here is, what do you think the difference is? Which one do you think really occurs most often in agriculture? And think about that carefully. There are certainly some clients out there, some producers, some customers, some prospects that really are absolutely okay with the problem solver approach. And there are many that really prefer that relationship selling approach. They really like getting to know their salesperson, their representative. They become part of their team, actually, in terms of managing the farm. And you're the buyer. Sometimes you have to think about which method that you prefer. What do you like? What do you value in someone who's working with you on a project as a leader of a team? What do you value whenever you walk into a place of business and you're looking to buy a product? I will tell you, just over the course of my career, selling has changed drastically. There's a lot less personal touch to selling today than what there was 20 and 30 years ago, just over the course of my career. We're getting much less customer service oriented. And, if you want proof of that, I'll give you a very simple example. Walk through Walmart. Fill your cart with the items that you need to purchase on that day, and go through the checkout line and really think about and pay attention to how you're treated through the checkout line with the checkout person. Are they engaging? Do they look you in the eye and greet you as they're scanning the materials that are going across the scanner there and building your bill? Do they engage you in conversation? Did they ask you if you found everything that you were looking for today? Do they thank you for your business whenever you have all the items bagged up? So many today they scan all the things, throw them in the bags, and then wait for you to offer a method of payment, and then maybe don't even thank you for the opportunity to sell to you today. Thank you for your business. What a huge mistake that has become. And even worse yet, they've depersonalized the selling experience altogether by putting in the automated checkout lines. Admittedly, I use them on occasion. But that really sanitizes the personal selling that Sam Walton was really known for in the early days of Walmart. So, if you're the buyer, what method do you prefer? And that's a lost touch in selling today. But not necessarily so much in ag, because our ag people really oftentimes enjoy that and value that personal touch and personal approach. So, also what we'll talk about is a little bit of value-added selling. So we're always looking for the opportunity to enhance the customer experience. You've got to identify customer care needs. What things does each customer value? What is important to them? How do you help configure and then offer them the best possible product solution? Sometimes you need to illustrate how it's going to benefit their bottom line, how it's going to help them either be more profitable or save them time, be more efficient, be more responsible with the land, cut down on their input costs, things of that nature. And then lastly, how do you assist them with integration of that product and then evaluating if it works? There's so often things that we buy and put into our operations, into practice, and then we're not even sure whether it did anything. To me, those are difficult products to buy again and very difficult products to sell. I'll give you a quick example. I was, herdsman at a large dairy. Many of you know. Spent a couple years there, and we had a very, very large lagoon, and we had a salesman stop in one day that sold our farm manager, some bioreactor stuff that was supposed to be tossed into the lagoon that would cut down on the odor. Now, there is some effectiveness to some of those products. There is some data that supports that those things maybe work. I'm not sure we saw that in this sales presentation. But anyhow, the salesperson delivered that product to us in a truck bed full, I am not stretching this, a truck bed full of 5-gallon pails for our rather large lagoon. And we were instructed to just take the lid off and sling the contents of the bucket out into the lagoon and let it soak into the lagoon water, and then that would therefore cut down on the odor off of our lagoon. Now, maybe it worked, but I have no idea how you measure how that worked, because I'm positive that we did not do any pre-treatment evaluation of how much our lagoon smelled, and I'm positive we did not do any post-treatment evaluation of how that product worked. So, was it worth it? I haven't a clue. I'm pretty sure that we paid a lot of money for that foo-foo dust that we threw out in the lagoon and have no idea whether it did anything. And to me, that's a mistake. Now, that salesperson, he made out okay, but he never sold us anything again, at least while I was there. And so therefore, a lot of, he made that sale one time, but he didn't get any repeat sales. And that's really important in ag, is how you treat a customer one time probably predicts whether you'll get repeat business out of them. And we know in agriculture, there's a lot, our business, our industry is founded on repeat business. It's necessary to have repeat business. Again, as I mentioned previously in the course, there's a defined number of producers in the business. There's a defined number of clients. There's a defined number of retailers. It's important that you are able to sell and resell over and over and over again. And if you don't have a good way to help evaluate whether a product was effective or not, whether it was used properly or not, and a customer doesn't know that, they may never come back to you again. And so that's really important with the value-added selling philosophy. So I'd also encourage you to think about who's involved in your sales team. You may be the one in the company pickup truck out there making sales calls, but you have to think about there are other people that are crucial into your success. So if we think about really quickly the ag equipment dealership, again, you're the one out there running around up and down the roads, visiting customers, sitting at their kitchen tables, in their shop, occasionally riding with them in the combine, maybe taking them to lunch, whatever it might be. But who else is really crucial to making sure that you're a successful salesperson? Well, I would tell you, you better have a darn good parts person. If you sell a piece of equipment to a customer, and then your parts department is lackluster, rude, lacks good customer service skills, that may prevent you from having resales to that particular customer. Your service technicians are really crucial to take good care of. If your service technicians lack in skill or lack in ability to interact with the customer in a productive way, they don't have to sell anything as a technician, but they have to be decent at their job, and they have to be good at interacting with the customer. That's important. And sometimes those folks can help you identify new sales opportunities. The feed sales specialist person, he or she needs to work well with the people in the feed mill, in the office that do the billing so that it's accurate and on time, and that they service a client whenever a client calls to put in an order appropriately. Those people are really critical on your sales team. And I've just covered the top couple. I'll let you think about the bottom three on your own. I would encourage you, if you're into sales, treat those people really, really well. Take them to lunch occasionally. Take time to go out and do their job with them occasionally. I oftentimes spent a day in the feed mill, just making sure that I understood how everything worked and how much time they needed to process an order. Take time with a technician who's working on a customer's combine. Stop in whenever they're doing something like that. That might, you understanding what their challenges are may help you lead to sales. If you're in, chemical sales, understand your applicators make or break your next sale. Spend time with them. It's important to them. That whole team approach is really, really crucial. So, and then I think we'll close up a little bit here and talk about social networking. And I say, well, is it affecting ag sales today? Think about that very carefully. I think it does. Is it effective? Occasionally. I think we can probably all come up with good and bad examples of utilizing social networking in ag sales. I encourage you to think about how you would use it. There are lots of different platforms, of course, nowadays. How do you utilize those platforms? And what if you're absent from a platform? What if you don't have Snapchat or TikTok or any other new tool that comes along from the social networking platform? What if you are absent from that? Will it cost you? How would you make it beneficial? How would you make it helpful? There's a lot of different things to consider with the social networking space. Some of them really can increase your efficiency. Some of them may not. So, really think about how that is a part of your personal selling philosophy, because that's something that's really, I know, not new to many of you, but it's really new to the ag sales industry, is figuring out how to effectively use that. It's a strategy that they're all thinking about nowadays that 20 years ago was never a glint in their eye. They were more worried about their website. And I would suggest that website sales are much slower than what comes from social networking, and that they probably encounter a product on social networking much sooner than they do sometimes on the internet nowadays. So think about that. We're going to talk about a few of those things as we get to your assignments in this section. So that wraps up this Unit 2, and I really want you to think about, as we build the foundation for sales, how personal selling, how that personal approach and how you develop relationships is going to be really critical. We're actually going to apply a few of these concepts in class and think about each of us and a little bit on how our personality type affects how we interact with each other. Look forward to seeing you in class. Thanks for tuning in.